you know, many people who are in this industry of fitness and bodybuilding, you know, they all have their own different individual goals. Some are doing it for, you know, for just their own personal, you know, struggles.
Yeah.
You've got women now that I find, you know, where the fitness industry has sort of exploded over the last, you know, per se 10 years with females in social media. And it's not where you know, back in the 90s, where you had a clear-cut definition of what a fitness model was, what she was and who she was, and you had these conglomerate shoots. And now you find people that are jumping into the industry, calling themselves fitness models, who either A, don't work out, but have a decent physique. They jump up on stage. They enter these competitions with very little training, where someone like yourself puts in the time, the hours, the effort, the money, in the sense, number one, to get your body in peak physical condition, to compete for these pro cards, compete for these trophies. And you spend all the money on suits, and you spend all the money on diets, and you spend all the money on supplements. And then you put in, you know, with your trainers, and you put in the work, and you bring your, as you say, you ladies used to say, I'm bringing my best package to the stage. And when you bring it, then someone who doesn't work out, doesn't train, walks onto the stage and wins in that competition. What for you, in the sense, would you say advice for yourself that, you know, not to get discouraged from that, like in personal goals for yourself? What was the reasons why you decided to jump on stage, and also dealing with the politics, even though you won, but dealing with the politics, I'm sure, in certain competitions where you haven't won?
Okay, so what makes me decide to compete? I've been working out for a while, and whenever I was at the gym, people always come up to me and ask, oh, are you prepping for a show? Because they saw me working really hard, so they think that whoever look fit working hard, obviously preparing for a show. But I never even thought of it at the time, and I always tell people, I'm like, why do I have to compete to work hard? Like, why can't I just work hard at the gym just because I love working out and I love balance of life? And at the time, honestly, I was very skeptical about the whole competing world, because I've heard little things here and there about how extreme it is. And, you know, I heard about like, oh, you have to starve yourself and sucking on ice. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound healthy at all. You know, and I believe in me coming from a very poor relationship with food, and I finally developed a very good relationship with food. I don't want to go back to that route. I don't want to go to the whole yo-yo diets and all that, right? So I, you know, for a longest time, I did not want to compete. However, I became a fitness coach, and I was very involved in the fitness industry. And at the time, to be honest with you guys, my marriage at the time was failing, and I needed a source of income, right? And to me, I find if I was gonna become a fitness coach, I want to be one of the best, and I want the credibility, right? So if I'm just a trainer, then yes, I would always be at that level, right? And I want to make myself better, right? More widely recognized. And that's when I decided I want to compete, and I want to make sure that I can be independent again, and I can, you know, get myself out of that situation. And to be honest, you can tell my voice is shaking, because yeah, it was bad. And I think it helped me to become very determined that, like, I have to win. There is no plan B for me. I have to win to get myself out of there. And yeah, and so let's talk about other.
Let me ask you a question. Did you feel, you know, when you were, because I mean, and I've seen this many times, and as I said, like, the industry has changed so much with women getting into the business, and you find, which I, in my experience, and people that I know, I find that a lot of women who have jumped into this industry have all had the same similar story where they came from a bad relationship or a bad relationship, and they start, you know, I guess you would say, this is where the social media aspect comes into it, where some women are competing, as I said, for a real personal goal to either help somebody and whatever. But the majority of what you see now is where when they don't have that validation at home, in their relationships, in their marriage, or whatever, and they go on social media and they get a like here, and they get a like there, and they get another like, and they get another like, and they get another like, and they start thinking, okay, you know what? I'm getting all of this gratification from these men and strangers and people, number one, that don't know, because as you know, like, you know, people can put on their happy face in front, in a sense, on social media, and look, they have the most perfect relationship, and then behind closed doors, it's chaos. And over the last several years, you see women, of course, as I said, using the fitness industry as an escape, you know, to forget about the drama that they're dealing with at home, and they start getting, as I said, the validation from the people online. But there's not really a goal set behind it, where it's like, for example, they're getting these likes and they're getting these followers, and as you said, you know, you were using it as a tool to financially put yourself in a position to make your life better, which meant you could have done the easy route, which I'm sure you've dealt with this as a competitor, where you get someone that has no training. They have never done a fitness show in their life. They do that one fitness show, and then the next week, their whole social media changes. Okay, now I'm a dietitian, I'm a nutritionist, I'm a fitness trainer, and they have no credentials, no qualification, but then sticking into their bio on social media, I'm a fitness trainer, I'm a fitness model, I'm a fitness, you know, person, when they haven't really put the time or the, I guess you would say, education where you have done. What do you feel in the sense, I mean, does that frustrate you as a competitor? Does it frustrate you as someone that's put in the work and put the time in? Or do you look at that saying, okay, you know what, like, let me use my platform to educate what the real shit is and what the real quality of training is, because you show the proof every single day in how you look, in the clients that you train. But then you've got other people, number one, that are in the industry who are, to me, piggybacking over the hard work of people like you. So how do you feel about that?
So to be honest, at the beginning, I was very frustrated because, you know, I felt like, oh, I worked so hard and I didn't get the audience, and I didn't get as much client as the so-called influencer online who perform an exercise with very bad form. But at the end of the day, there's a saying like slay in your own lane, right? So I feel like instead of wasting my time and energy feeling angry or fused about these people, right, about this whole saturated industry, I rather focus in myself, learn to be better, continue to keep learning, getting more knowledge for myself, so that I could help my clients, real clients that actually paying me with their hard-earned money. And I want to focus in that more than all the likes and whatnot, because at the end of the day, a like doesn't mean that it will pay my bills. It doesn't directly transfer into that. So what I truly believe is that as long as I'm honest and I offer something truly valuable, and if someone see that and that I can help that one person, that is enough for me. I'm not worried about anyone else doing what and making millions and whatnot. As long as I could sleep at the end of the day, knowing I do my best, I help people, I feel happy, I feel motivated, and that my daughter and my family can be proud, that's important to me. And that's enough.
Which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to sign you. You are one of those individuals that, for me, as I said, that like, you know, in an industry that is so saturated, and you stood out to me for those qualities because of not only what you put on social media, but there's a realness about you. There's a realness in the fact of like where, you know, I always say, you know, stay in your authentic truth of who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people, for example, as you know, that are on social media for the wrong reasons, and you know, they're getting the likes and the followers to their head. I mean, I've had meetings with certain models, and they're like, I've got, you know, 1 million followers on Instagram, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but do you have $1 million in the bank? Like, if you can't revenue those one follower person per follower into even $1,
yeah,
or then really at the end of the day, you know, what relevance do you have?
yes.
The second thing is that where, for me, you know, what made you stand out to me, and it's something that I have stressed over the years for models, fitness models, actors, you know, anybody that's stepping in the entertainment industry or the fitness industry, is that you have a choice. You can either be a model or you can be a brand. And to me, when you're a model, you know, I'm sure you've seen them at, you know, the Toronto Pro shows and et cetera, which I call booth bitches, where they're at a booth, they don't really know anything, they don't know anything about the product, they don't know anything about what they're selling, but they're standing there taking their $100 for 6 hours, whatever, they're standing there. And then you've got individuals like yourself, for example, who are brands, where you've got these girls who have a million followers on social media, fitness models. And, you know, and I'm sure you've seen the ads, or I'm sure you've seen the promotions where they're like, hi guys, buy my flat tummy tea and use my 10% discount code. And I'm like, okay, you're using a 10% discount code to offer to your following. Meanwhile, 98% of your following is men who are thirsty, leaving the comments, leaving, yo, baby, I want to fuck you. Yo, baby, I want to sleep with you. Yo, baby, you're so fucking hot. And meanwhile, when you're promoting your 10% discount code, these guys that are on your social media, they don't give a rat's ass about your 10% discount code, because they're not women. They're not the demographic of people that you're trying to sell to. And most importantly, they don't care, because all they care about is, let me see your titties, let me see your ass, let me see your dick. But then there's you. When I started to, you know, notice you over the last 5-6 years, and I kept hearing this name, and people kept on saying, yo, D, you got to sign this Sue Liga. Like, she's killing it. She's out in Canada, but she's killing it. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, I've seen the Toronto girls. I'm not really interested, because there's always been the same type of product that they're putting out. Then I came across your page, and I was like, wait a minute. This girl, not only, you know, for an Asian model standing out, but the balance and the ratio of her demographic, it was all over the map. It wasn't just men. It wasn't just women. It wasn't just old. It wasn't just young. And it was every spectrum, which is what I say is the true definition of what you don't see anymore. The old school way of fitness modeling, where you had the Trish Stratus's, you had the Stacey Lynns, you had the Julianne Gerhardts, you had the Sarah Banks, the ones that when you picked up a Muscle Mag magazine and you saw that girl for the very first time, you could follow her on her journey. Like, it wasn't just a saturated aspect where everybody and their mother was, okay, well, is this girl a fitness model? That girl, it's like you knew if you wanted to follow your certain girl who was known for her ass, or known for her boobs, or known for her abs, or whatever, like, you had that following. And with you is where, you know, what I saw the difference is between you and other individual athletes that were out there, is that you were putting out such a very positive message. And it wasn't about, you know, you showing people just the pretty side of you. Like, I follow people who probably follow you, know your stories, and they watch your stories, and you have a personality, and you're entertaining, and you're funny. But like, you will, and it's always, I always say to you, I'm like, this girl is like a modern day female superwoman. Because remember when Superman would get into the phone booth, and he put on his, you know, he go from Clark Kent to Superman. Every time I see you in those video stories where you come out of your elevator, it's like you've turned into this superwoman, because you go from like sweatpants, no makeup, hair in a mess, hair all over the place, and within 2 seconds,
mom's life,
fresh to death, walking, skipping, jumping, and to me, it's like when you're able to show, you know, people that side of who you are and being real. To me, that is the truest form of what a fitness model is, because it's not about what's on the outside. It's about what's on the inside. And if your inside is not proper, the outside is not proper, because you, and this is like, I think for you, like as you said, like when you're in your relationship and it was going bad, you needed another outlet to channel. Did you do it more for the money, in the sense of to help yourself financially, or was it more for you saying, okay, you know what, I was meant to be on this earth to help people? What was your main goal?
Well, like I said, like when I became a fitness coach, my main goal is to help others people, right? And I find that if I compete, it doesn't just get me out of my situation, but it's also helped me reach out to a bigger audience, right? So I can reach out to more people, so I can help people, or at least guide them to the right direction. Because there's so many, every day there are people DM me asking me about nutritional questions without like any promise that like, hey, I'm gonna pay you or anything. I don't care, because I was that person. I was that person who were very confused about what's going on and all the information, and I had no one to ask, because I went on YouTube and I watched all these famous influencer, and I reached out to them and no one ever responded to me, right? And or I would get like an automatic response, and I know that was not her or that was not him. And I want to change that. I want to truly touch people. I want to truly show that, you know what, you can do anything. You can be a mom and still be beautiful, and you can find yourself again, if not better, right? And you know, all these pictures that I have on my Instagram, it's not to show like, hey, look at me, I'm so sexy. It's more to empower women and to empower even men who ever doubt themselves, that like, oh, I would never do that. Oh, I've never become that. Yes, you can. I never could even imagine I become a fitness model, right? You know, like when I first started my fitness journey, all I thought was that like, oh, I just want to lose my fat. Simple as that. But it just by setting goals, and then once you achieve that goal, you set a little higher goal. By keeping setting goals, you'll be surprised where you end up. That's all I can say, right? I never imagined where I am right now. And the sky's the limit. I'm nowhere near, you know, like the highest or whatever. I'm not almighty, but you know what I mean? Like it's a lot further from where I started.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, what I've the thing that I've said this to you before. We've had private conversations where, you know, there's been a very, very long time that, you know, especially as an Asian model in the industry, which, you know, any person of different race other than white in the industry doesn't necessarily move up the ranks of notoriety that quickly. Yeah. And the last time, to me, it was done on a massive scale, like a really, 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 really big scale. Those who are on watching this live right now can remember the days of Kiana Flex Appeal at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And, you know, and for those who are old enough like me to remember, you know, there's many people, of course, you being an IFBB pro, you know the name Monica Brandt. And Monica Brandt was actually Kiana's backup dance, like backup workout girl in the videos. And, you know, to me, I've looked at you over the last several years of, you know, just watching you, you know, build your platform and inspire people. Like, to me, I'm gonna crown you publicly today and say that you are the Canadian Kiana Flex Appeal of this era. Like, you have set the bar to me as an Asian model, and to me is like, you know, being an Asian model. Did you find, you know, did you ever deal with any racism per se aspects in the industry? Like, you know, where if you were competing in a show or ever felt in any way, in the sense, number one, judged differently or looked at differently in the sense as an Asian model in the industry?
When it comes to competing, no, because I compete in the Canadian Physique Alliance, and that's the mainstream of bodybuilding, and all judges are fair, right? So they judge you on your package, on the proportion of your body. For example, like I'm knee high where my body should be. So that's where they judge it. So they don't judge it on the skin or the race or the ethnicity, thank goodness. Yeah, everything has been very fair when it comes to the bodybuilding competition world, I have to say. However, I understand why being Asian is still a minority in the fitness industry because of our genetics making. We're very small people, and it's hard for us to build muscle. And yeah, if I keep making that excuse, I would never be where I am, right? So like, I remember when I was prepping for my competition, my coach keeps saying like, oh, you need more delts, you need more muscle on your shoulders. And I worked so hard, and sometimes I cry. I'm like, I don't understand, like, why is it not coming? You know, or maybe I'm just Asian. You know, I did excuse myself. However, I didn't give up, and I just keep telling myself, maybe because of my genetic, I just have to work a little bit harder. Like, it just take more work, right? But then my advantage would be like, I'm easy to get smaller, right? So I believe that, you know, the above made us to be very fair, right? So he takes something away from us, he gives us something else. So we just have to understand our flaw and work harder on it. But I don't think the competition judges are unfair at all. However, yeah, I understand in the fitness industry, like as in models, you don't see a lot of Asian models for that reason, right? Because we don't fit in the majority profile.
So for exactly that, what would you feel that needs to be done? I mean, you being a trailblazer right now, as I said, winning an IFBB Pro card in such a quick period of time, you know, what do you feel in what you see, in your experience, and just overall needs to be done to change that stereotype, to open the door for more Asian models and Asian people, in a sense, to break through that industry and start getting the recognition that they deserve?
I believe that consistency works for everything, right? You just have to keep showing up, keep looking the best that you could, and by being more exposed, other Asian fitness fanatics will see me and say, oh, hey, she started looking like that, 65 pounds heavier, and she could win a pro card, and she could maintain this year round. Oh, so can I. She's Asian, I'm Asian too. So that is what I want to I hope that it will inspire other people to realize that genetics is just one thing, right? But hard work will beat genetics any day.
But do you feel that, like, in a society now of social media, that in that industry and just overall, that is it more about likes and followers for judges? Is it more about favoritism in the sense of where, you know, this person hasn't, I mean, for example, I'm not going to put out any names right now, but I know in certain competitions with certain companies where, you know, they have used and abused, to me, competitors, and not in the right way, in the sense of where you've got these competitors, again, that I've always said, competing for these pro cards. To me, this is my own personal opinion, that legitimately in this day and age mean nothing. You've got competitors competing for trophies. To me, in this day and age, that legitimately mean nothing, where they're spending money on all these diets, these suits, these supplements, these trainings, the travel, the hotels, the registration fees. And I've always said, where you've got these people running these companies who are pimping out their competitors, where they're bringing in certain athletes, and some athletes are just content saying, I was on stage with such and such, I competed on stage with such and such. And I'm like, okay, you spent all of that money in a sense to get ready for these shows, for these pro cards, for these trophies that you probably are never going to win, just to go and make a social media post 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out, 2 weeks out. And then when the show is over, well, I didn't win, but I brought my best package to the stage. I met some really great people. And I'm saying, okay, all that money that you spent on all of that, imagine what you could do if you put that money into your own branding, into yourself, into elevating your own brand. So for you, it's like you have already won your pro card. After that, what was your next goal?
Okay, so first of all, if you ever plan to compete, just make sure you do your research about what association or what roof you want to be under, right? So I did my research and I realized that, okay, if I want to keep competing and advance myself, I want to be under the Canadian Physique Alliance, who is connecting with also the NPC, which is in the States. Okay. So if I ever want to compete in the States or be qualified to compete in the States, I can, right? And further on, let's say Olympia or Arnold's, it's all under one association of the IFBB Pro. And that's why there are so many other associations that I cannot speak for them, because I've never competed under any other association. But yes, I understand and I'm aware that there are many out there that, yes, you lose a lot of money and you don't really get the result for your hard work, and rather than politics and favoritism and whatnot. But I can't speak for those because I'm really not aware of it. I never competed under any other roofs. I'm happy with the mainstream, and I know that they're fair. Second of all, about deciding when to compete or compete at all, I believe that everybody has their different purpose when they enter a competition. Maybe for engagement on social media, maybe it is a almost like a self-affirmation, right? To see what they can do, like what is their best that they can push themselves, and it's totally okay with that too. Or someone like me who want to help more people, who want to make my voice louder, right? So everybody has different goals, and I think depends on that goal, people decide to put their the effort. Right? If I'm just doing it for the likes, it would be different, right? If it's something really, really important to me, I would put a different kind of effort in it. And that's why I believe that your results speak to your effort. If let's say, if the judging is fair, then the package that you bring to stage is the best that you could. And I think that is enough, whether you win or not, because you don't know who show up. Right? I don't know who's showing up next to me. It could be a girl who's been working out a lot longer than me, who has more muscle maturity than me, which means she's better conditioned than me. It doesn't mean that she work harder or I work less harder. It just means that she's just more matured in the industry, right? And it's totally fair if I don't win, right? But I wouldn't be upset because I know I put my best. Of course, I would love to win every time, but it's very hard, especially now that I'm competing with other pros, right? So yeah, that will be a challenge, and I just know that I just have to do my best.
So being obviously a sex symbol, you deal with, you know, social media and being put out there in the sense, and I'm sure, for example, because I've heard this many times, of women, you know, who are beautiful like yourself, who take care of themselves, take care of their body, and they're you know, they reach a certain age or they become a mother, and you get those individuals on social media who are saying, Sue, you're a mother. You shouldn't post images like that. You shouldn't post, you know, scantily clad photos like that. What do you say to those people who come at you with those comments? And what do you feel that, you know, a woman should have a limit to her sexy?
Yeah, I actually got only a few, but I did get those messages, and these women actually came up to me in a very sincere way, right? They're like, hey, you know, like, you have a daughter, and do you think that this will affect you as a mother? What would she think if she see this? And I'm like, honestly, my daughter saw my photos, and she knows I was in fitness, and that's what she focused on, and that's truly what I focus on anyways, because what I portray myself on Instagram and what I believe in real life is the same. It's all around fitness, whether I wear lingerie or whether I wear fully clothed. I always make sure I pose in a way to showcase my physique, right? It's not about like, oh, let me put my ass up, like right up to the lens, you know. It's never about that.
Yeah.
It's about showcase my hard work. It's about empowering other women to say, oh wow, she's a mom and she can feel sexy, and it's nothing wrong with you as a woman to feel sexy. Like, I'm only in my mid-30s. I'm not, you know, 85. Like, I'm allowed to feel feminine and sexual and be confident and be happy about what I work so hard for. And you know what? Like, I realized, like, for the longest time, I was very insecure. And I realized that if you don't love yourself and if you don't think you're the shit, people will not appreciate you, right? Because if I can't appreciate myself, who can appreciate me?
100%.
Yeah. So I that's how I communicate with these ladies, and you know, and I totally appreciate everybody's opinion, but that's how I decide to live my life. Because yeah, I grew up from a very strict family where my dad's like, tell my mom, oh, make sure she wear very loose clothes because, you know, she's too curvy. I don't want to see her boobs. I want other boys to see her boobs. And that's how I grew up, right? So I'm a little bit like a black sheep at this point. I want to just say, hey, I'm me, and I'm a woman, and I feel beautiful, and that makes me happy. So do what makes you happy.
Well, I mean, the thing I want to ask you is that, because I mean, I know obviously it's just like I used to manage a top international fitness model, but then Emma Talibal, who was East Indian descent. And when we first broke out to the scene before she became international, you know, in India, it was not known to be showing the skin. In the Asian community as well,
yeah,
you know, there's certain things that are considered like a no-no. And, you know, you've broken all those rules. I mean, you're a rebel without a cause. So, like, for you, like, was your family supportive of like what you were doing and the images that you're putting out there? And, you know, do you ever have controversy with them to say, you know what, like, you shouldn't be putting out this image online? Or do you just say, fuck it, I'm going to do my own thing no matter what anybody says?
So yeah, no, my family was not support at the beginning. They was not supportive at the beginning because they were so far away. They used to be in Vietnam. They just migrated to Canada in 2019, I believe September. And yeah, prior to that, they were not supportive at all. And for the longest time, I basically blocked them on Instagram. Because I'm like, hey, if you can't deal with it, don't look at it, you know. But this is how it is for me. This is you don't understand. I'm trying to send out a very powerful message to women, right? And in time, I try to explain. However, I think it's the most effective once they come here and they went out with me anywhere in my community and people recognize me or people knows me at the gym and they all greet me with so much love and welcoming and positivity, right? Then my family realized, okay, you know, obviously she's doing something good, not just for herself but for people, for her to be greeted or to be loved or to be treated with respect like that. And I think my family finally understand that. My mom is still kind of like iffy about my bikini or lingerie picture. She's like, do you have to show that? I'm like, yes, mom. This is me. This is me. And she loves me and she understands that I'm harmless and that, you know, like I mean well. But I think it will still take her some time to understand what I want. And I'm very blessed that my family loves me. So even though they're not in love with certain pictures, but they love me and they know that at the end of the day, I'm a good person. So, yeah.
Welcome, guys. For those who are just joining in, welcome to another edition of Hot Topics Celeb TV. We are in tonight on Hot Topics After Dark with special guests, international fitness model IFBB Pro Sue Lee. If you have a question, guys, please leave it. We will answer it towards the end of this podcast show. My next question for you is, and sort of a bounce back off of that, is where, you know, being, as I said, a sex symbol and having to, you know, put the material that you put out and the content that you put out. And me, I know this because I used to be, unfortunately, married to a fitness model. Not where it was a bad thing, but it was also a good thing, but it was also a bad thing because it's like where I've always said, you know, people, they want to date a fitness model until they get a fitness model. And you can have a good fitness model like yourself who's confident, who's not, you know, who's secure with it herself, where that's the best of a partner to have. But then you have the other ones who are insecure. Doesn't matter how good they look, doesn't matter how beautiful they are, doesn't matter how many likes and followers that they get, they still don't see what everybody else sees on the outside. So for you, like, how was it for you being, as I said, a sex symbol, and then trying to, you know, balance being in a relationship when you have so many men who are gravitating towards your page every single day, gravitating towards your affection, leaving comments and etc. I know, I mean, the thing I love about you, because you're so fucking 100 and you keep it real. And I remember there was a story that you posted a while back where somebody left, I guess, some sort of comment on your thing, and you just were not having it, and you let them know, you know, if they come with disrespect, they're gonna get the wrath of Sue Lee all over their asses and shit. So
the backhand.
Like, how do you feel? I mean, for example, balancing, like, have you found maintaining a relationship hard, easy, or what?
It is very hard if you have the wrong partner, right? If you the challenge is that, like you said, there are a lot of men and there are a lot of DM requests and dirty messages daily, right? And or even compliments, nice compliments from gentlemen online. And if my partner couldn't handle that part, then it would be a challenge, right? And I was in a relationship that my ex-partner find it's really hard to read these comments and to like to accept it. But and here, this is how I break it to my partner, to my ex-partner, is that whether I'm on social media or not, right? If I'm at the mall, there would be men coming up to me and say, "Hey, you're very beautiful. I think you're very beautiful. Can I have your number?" I got it even when I was 65 pounds heavier, pushing a stroller. So, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm hot. It's just that beauty is, I guess, in the eyes of the beholder, right? So maybe certain men find a woman with curves beautiful. Some men find women with muscles beautiful, and nothing wrong with that. Like there are different kind of beauties everywhere. And you know, the funny thing is when I grew up, I never was told that I am good looking. I was always told that I'm very ugly and I need to work on my personality. Wow. So that hopefully a man will marry me. And so I grew up actually feeling very insecure.
Okay,
my whole
so for all the boys and all the people, number one, that doubted, that hated, that said anything negative about this woman, I want you right now, Sue, to put your finger up like this. Literally put
they don't even exist in my life anymore.
Put your finger up with me. Put your finger up with me.
No. You know what? Whoever watching right now, they all love us. That's the problem,
no, but
right?
This is not.
They wouldn't even be in my life anymore.
This is not the people that love us. This is the people, number one, who called you ugly, who called you, you know, never going to be with anybody. I want you to tell people, you know what, kiss your ass, because you have proven, in sense, number one, that exactly what you said. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but the bottom line is that you have to know yourself that you're beautiful. You've got to feel that. That's not about what somebody else thinks.
That's right.
What anybody else's opinions are. And we live now, obviously, in a society where everyone has so much opinions, you know, on social media, because we've given them this free platform to use. Some use it for negative, some use it, majority use it for negative, very few use it for positive. And the ones that use it for positive, to me, is that it's people like you that I feel, you know, are the bright light of society, you know, like especially in the times that we're living in right now. You know, we all need, you know, someone to bring that energy and that joy, you know, every single day to people's lives. So, like, right now, obviously, as I said, like, we're living in a very weird state of the world with coronavirus and lockdowns and everything else, and an issue that, you know, myself being part Asian, you know, that I'm sure that you have seen over the last year or so, the rapid rate, and even recently, you know, more frequently, the attacks on the Asian community and violence and hate crimes. What is your, you know, have you ever experienced, you know, because you said you dealt with that in a sense, number one, people when you were growing up, but like, as you started to mature, and even now being a beautiful woman, and then in the climate of where people are blaming the Asian community for the entire pandemic itself, have you ever felt or experienced, whether it be now as a kid in this climate, discrimination due to this, you being of Asian descent?
Absolutely, yes. I want to move back to the partner for a quick bit. Okay. And all I want to say is that for if you are expose yourself on Instagram and to how to balance relationship, is that you should show your partner that this is my work and this is who I am to you, right? Like, so my work is being professional, right? And don't get that mixed up. So I